Hey, this is Luke from Lotus. I'm going to break down our track Electric Orange from our new album, How to Dream in Color. So this track, I was going for kind of a electro disco feel in the vein of Daft Punk, early 2000s French touch, that kind of vibe. A little slower than your maybe typical house track, but kind of some of those French touch elements. And let's see how we got there. So this song started off with a chord change, just a groove on the Wurlitzer. So just a simple 4-note chord change, and processing that Wurlitzer, we put on a little tube tape echo. You can hear that together. Gives it that stereo effect. So once I got that in place, the next thing was to get a drum beat. And for this, used a very simple disco type drum beat. The offbeat hi-hats. That is supplemented with this kind of deeper electronic kick drum, just to give a little more oomph and sub to the acoustic kick that we recorded. So together, you can hear it gives it that nice punchy feel. So the next element is the bass. For this kind of groove, the bass really drives it. And part of the feel of the French touch vibe is staying in a non-sustained harmonic position. So it really stays away from the root note. I don't know if this is hard to hear or not, but the bass is kind of making the harmonic position be suspended until the very end of the phrase. So it's unresolved, and it very briefly resolves there, and then it turns back around. So it kind of just gives you a brief touch of the resolution, and that kind of creates this forward momentum where you're kind of always waiting for it to resolve, but it never does. So it just keeps pushing you forward. That kind of creates the feel that you want to hear that groove over and over, even though it's very simple. So the next element in the groove was the guitar line. So this is the main melody. Often when I'm coming up with melodies for this kind of stuff, I'll just play the groove and then I'll kind of like sing to myself. I want the guitar to kind of be in place of the vocal. And for this, we even kind of enhance that vocal feel by putting the guitar through a vocoder effect. And this has a little bit of the famous Eventide H3000. It's an old rack unit. It was used a lot in the 80s. And that is doing... just kind of adding to the sound of it, making it thicker and bringing out some of those vowel sounds. And we mix that with the actual guitar. So you get both the vocal sound on the guitar and then the punchiness of the guitar being played normally with a pick. So that's Tim playing both of those parts. So then that's kind of the main portion of the song. And then we started adding in little, like what I call ear candy. So we got Chalk Dinosaur, artist out of Pittsburgh. I know does a lot of vocoder and talkbox stuff. So he did a bunch of things for us on this track, and we picked some things that added to the groove. So here he's got a bunch of layers of talkbox that form this chord. It's a little swell. And then the final piece of this intro is this little modular part. Just kind of a very punchy, percussive type sound. It kind of adds to the it's almost a percussive element, but they have pitches on it. So when that melody repeats, this little percussive shaker and cabasa come in, just kind of filling out the drum sound a little bit more. It's always nice to have, you know, once there's a repeat, we're repeating the intro here after the first melody, to have something change, even if it's just a little bit. So here, those shakers come in, so the drums kind of take a little bit of a step up. And then the vocal melody repeats. So that little transition there, just use this little downshift effect. Just a little white noise with a filter on it and a little Memory Man, which is an old analog delay pedal to get that sound. That just is another ear candy thing that adds to the transitions. It kind of lets your mind know, oh, something is going to change here, and it kind of sets up your brain for a transition. So this section, kind of just a groove section, but this little talkbox thing that Chalk Dinosaur made, we kind of chopped it up and made it repeat because it had a nice little hooky element to it. Got this slide. It's always nice to have slides in certain elements of the instruments to add. They've got a hooky nature to them, sliding. And the guitar is kind of just doing a single note, kind of wah rhythm part. So that's kind of a little interlude section. Leads back into the guitar vocal melody. Now we're moving into what I call the C section. This part kind of juxtaposes the first part. It's got a different chord change, and it goes into this little harmonized Wurlitzer and guitar melody that we can hear here. And this section actually has Rhodes with the Wurlitzer. So Wurlitzer and Rhodes are both electric pianos. The Rhodes is kind of known for more of a bell-like sound, You can hear that here. And then the Wurlitzer has a little bit more of a biting sound to it. They're not too dissimilar, but we ended up stacking them together here to get just a big full sound on that. And then the guitar is harmonizing with it. So those are kind of doing this 3-note pattern, while the bass is doing this ascending line. The bass also has this phaser on it. Just adds a little stereo width and a little interest to the bass sound. Gives it a little more of that disco-y sound. So together with the bass going up and the Wurlitzer and guitar going down, you kind of get this crossing feel that it's a nice kind of, to me it sounds like something tropical or something. So that's the C section, which leads back into the A chord change, but this time instead of doing the vocal type melody, kind of features this modular part. So just kind of a sliding percussive feel for that. That builds up to the breakdown of the song. For this style of song, I usually think that the breakdown should come about 2/3 of the way in, which, as you can see from the total track, it comes right here. So it's almost exactly 2/3 of the way through. Yeah, it always just, doing a lot of DJ gigs and stuff with my project Luke the Knife, I've always noticed that that's kind of the natural spot that your brain needs a break, and it kind of wants to break down. Like you've heard this groove, you're locked in, but you need to kind of go away from it for just a second before you get back in. And so the kind of the 2/3 rule on the breakdown is usually what follows for this kind of dance track. So this breakdown uses the same chord change as the A section, but instead of playing on the Wurlitzer, it goes to a Juno, which is an analog, very simple analog keyboard that's used a lot. We use a Juno 60. We've used it on a lot of our records. It's a classic synth from the 80s. And then supplementing that with the Eventide H3000. You can hear it's kind of just making a delay chorus sound. So those together just make these lush, kind of noisy analog chords. The little white noise is just from the modular rig. You feed a noise oscillator into it, and then tweaking the filter and different stuff to create this just background white noise. And then John from Chalk Dinosaur came up with this really cool ascending arpeggio talk box sound. That just has a really nice build throughout this break. The only other thing in that breakdown is the modular. So it kind of just takes one bit of the previous part that was playing and repeats it over and over. So that breakdown builds up. And that brings us up to the bridge. So the bridge goes to a different chord change in the same key, but just puts the focus on a 4-chord change instead of the little back and forth chord change that was in the A section. So in the bridge part, we have all the same instrumental elements, but they're in a different chord change, and they're kind of building up. This one might be easier to hear in the full track, full mix track. We got the guitar kind of harmonizing. That leads into a little guitar solo. So we kind of got all the guitar parts stacked up here. Tim's playing rhythm guitar and soloing. Obviously not at the same time, those are tracked at different times. So as that solo builds, one other element comes in, and that is the string section. So I just used a synth string sound on this, like an analog string sound. Put a little tube tape echo on that to give the kind of roominess sound. A tube tape echo is if you don't know, it's a big box that has this kind of cassette tape running through it, and you use that to create this echo effect. It's kind of an old school way of making an echo sound. So that string sound kind of makes the solo just go up to the next level. You can hear that. String note kind of just keeps climbing and climbing. And now we're back at the main hook. Kind of all the elements are in there. These little talk box swells are kind of the final element. Just a chord just created by stacking a bunch of different notes on the talk box. And the drums, in the beginning, they started off with the classic disco. Now here at the end, the drums have kind of grown to their, final evolution. So here the drums are on the full 16th notes on the hats. So that's kind of like the way that the drums are completing their journey. That's pretty much it. Then there's this little outro, just like the intro. Then the final thing for the track, a lot of times for the French touch kind of sound, there'd be a filter on the main channel, like the main master. So you can hear the track is going along and the highs start to get cut out. It gets like murkier, like it's going underwater. That's just a filter. It's cutting out the highs, and that's kind of a classic DJ thing. You've got a knob on your DJ controller. So this is something we kind of allude to that as someone would be DJing this track or something. everything goes down, gets a little murky, and comes back in. So that's Electric Orange from the new album, How to Dream in Color. Thanks for listening.